Hello and welcome to today's edition of Mexico News Network's Breaking News Business, here at the El Dorado Royale Spa Resort in Mexico's Riviera Maya. I'm your host, Elliot Bullman. Before we start, remember to follow us on all our social networks, Facebook, Twitter and Google+, and catch us daily by logging on to MexicoNewsNetwork.com for relevant stories and news. Let's start with today's information. Over the past decade, Mexico's beef exports have expanded 800%, according to the Ministry of Agriculture, who recorded sales of $1.9 billion in 2016. With respect to the volume in 2015, exports of beef were 161,398 tons and imports 124,207, which meant a favourable balance in the balance of 37,191 tons, representing growth of 17.7%. At this stage of market diversification, preliminary studies indicate that Europe is a potential market for Mexican beef exports, mainly in Italy, the Netherlands, Germany and Russia, reported the Agriculture, Livestock, Rural Development, Fisheries and Food, Sagarpa, in a statement. Incredibly, over a third of the states of Mexico are responsible for the production of beef for export, which meant that in 2016, nearly 2 million tons of beef were exported. With more than 50% of the national territory devoted to livestock activities, Mexico produces 7.8 million tons of meat products per year: beef, pork, goats and poultry, of which more than 2 million tons are beef. In my view, these trade figures are an industry landmark for Mexico, because this is the first time in 20 years that they've recorded a trade surplus for beef. One of Canada's most famous exports, Cique du Soleil, has always had close ties with Mexico, and now Mexico's tourism board has entered into an agreement with Cique to develop their new show, Lucia, which will extract elements of Mexican music and culture. Mexico's federal government has channeled some $47.4 million into the project, which it expects to recoup over the next 5 years. The Cique has played to some 160 million people in 48 countries since it was founded, and currently has 21 shows playing worldwide. It employs 4,000 people and rakes in annual earnings in excess of $700 million. The show, Lucia, will travel to 450 cities worldwide over the next 7 years, says Enrique Madrid, Mexico's tourism minister. The show has 45 characters, 5 of whom are Mexican, and it's currently touring the United States. Cirque du Soleil has a permanent secondary venue in Playa del Carmen in the Riviera Maya. Located near the Vidanta Riviera Maya complex, the Cirque du Soleil Theatre is the company's first permanent venue in America and can seat up to 600 spectators. It was financed by the Vidanta Group, which has some 30 hotels in the region, and took 18 months and $30 million to build. Cirque du Soleil describes Lucia as a fusion of ancient Aztec and Mayan legends with the modern, natural and cultural wonders of Mexico. In my view, adding the Mexican cultural ingredient to Lucia is going to make this a hit show worldwide. Bilateral trade between Mexico and Canada has grown nearly 9 times since 1994. And in fact, in 2016, Mexican exports to Canada grew by 6.8%, totaling $2.9 billion. The main business sectors are related to the aerospace and automotive industries. Likewise, an important role is played by agricultural products, transformation companies, and those linked to the digital animation, graphic, and technological industry. Grupo Bimbo is thriving since it entered the Canadian market in 2014 by acquiring the emblematic Canada Bread and Vachon. And Grupo Alpha's high-level aluminium component division, NEMAC, has a plant in Windsor, Ontario. Industrias CH, a manufacturer of steel products, operates in Hamilton, Ontario, and Grupo México, one of the main copper producers at international level, actively participates in mining exploitation in Canada. And it's not just Mexico's big boys that are making a splash in Canada. Mexico's entrepreneurs are also finding market niches, creating businesses, and becoming commercially viable in the Canadian marketplace. The reality has been clearly identified by Vetelia, the startup founded in Guanajuato back in 2013, which put out the Hybridus electric bicycle and revolutionized the sector. Vetelia is one of the 15 companies with the highest impact throughout the country, and it's now jumped to Canada in order to materialize its next goal, the production of a 100% Mexican electric car with significant influence on the environment and mobility. So we've been talking a little bit about how entrepreneurs from Mexico and huge industries now are breaking into the Canadian markets. Joining me now from Ontario is Bobby, Amy, Angel and Yvan. How are you doing, guys?
Hey, very well. It's good to be here, my friend.
Great, having a good vacation?
Very good. Unbelievable.
Well, you're in big industry there, right? In manufacturing, in teaching. I mean, what are you noticing with big Mexican companies so far in Canada, the increase there? What's going on?
Well, surprisingly, lately we've seen an influx in exported goods. To be quite honest with you, I'm in the steel business myself. I purchase probably about 1 million pounds of steel a year. And the company you actually told me about,
Nemak Industries,
yeah. I've seen their logo on a couple of our steel materials being shipped all the way up north. Like I'm talking as deep north as Moose Factory. You know where the Hudson Bay?
That's way north.
At the James Bay.
Yeah.
We're putting up a couple steel buildings over there, and so that was. It's funny you said that because I wouldn't have noticed the difference, but after you brought it up, I was like, yeah, you know what?
Canada is now the country with the second largest number of Mexicans living there after the United States. And in my view, this means that Mexicans are getting more exposure to finance, business and commercial opportunities, and it's getting stronger every day. This was all for today. Thank you for joining me here at the El Dorado Royale Spa Resort in Mexico's Riviera Maya. I'm your host, Elliot Bullman. Before we go, remember to follow us on all our social media networks, Facebook, Twitter and Google+. And you can join us live on MexicoNewsNetwork.com for more relevant stories and news on Mexico and the world. Until next time.